Before we begin today's show, today we want to give a big shout out to
Buzz TV. Buzz TV brings you their own spin on Android devices like the NVIDIA Shield and the Amazon Fire Sticks, taking software to the next level with their own app helping you stream anything, anywhere. Buzz TV listens to you, the customers, and consistently brings you the latest and greatest when it comes to hardware, software, customer service, and experience right out of the box.
And to find their products, guys, make sure you guys do go to buzztvglobal.com.
Don't forget to click the link in the description below to get yourself the latest Android device right from Buzz TV. With all that being said, let's start the show.
What is up, YouTube, Supreme Bills family? Welcome to Rohas and Next Level's Beyond the Streams show. I'm getting interviewed today, so let's get with it, guys.
Okay, so we typically do these what the hell episodes in the beginning of the month. I don't know where we're going to place this one, but I wanted to do what the hell with politics. Yeah,
because politics are affecting tech right now, 100%. No matter which way you slice it, every week goes by and it's like a tech company is suing a political party, or a political party is suing a tech company, or it's just it's crazy.
I mean, America's forcing China to sell to a brand new company that's technically owned by Oracle, and they just created it. Like, that's totally tech related. Like
you know, spy on our people, we spy on our people.
Exactly. Like, we're gonna have like, dude, don't you guys have enough spying on us? Like, you got Facebook, you got Instagram, you got Snapchat, you got what is the other one? The messenger one?
WeChat
owns. No, the one that Facebook also owns.
Messenger.
No, well, they have Messenger, but no, it's the one people use because they think they're safe because it has end-to-end encryption, but you don't have the keys. The company still has the keys. It's I use it all the time and I can't think of the name of it. It's hold on. WhatsApp.
Oh yeah, WhatsApp. Yeah.
You know, everyone uses WhatsApp and thinks like that's totally safe because it's end-to-end encrypted. Except you don't have the keys. WhatsApp has the keys, so your message can be read and opened if the company decided to do so. It's not the same as like, what's the text one? Like there's Silent Circle. That one's totally end-to-end encrypted that doesn't have the keys. And I feel like a lot of people just don't understand this stuff well enough to realize the difference. You know, they just see end-to-end encryption and they think I'm safe now.
Yeah.
And technically you are, as long as nobody asks for your information. But if somebody does, what's that company's policy on giving it up?
Right.
You know?
So what's been the layers so far with TikTok? First, it was it's owned in, I guess, a company in China.
Yeah, a Chinese company is technically like the owner of TikTok.
Okay.
And apparently, that company, according to the United States, may or may not give data to the Chinese government. That's pretty much as far as we know. They may or may not give data. Therefore, we should ban it. Because maybe they might.
So who's actually trying to sue Trump, or I guess the president at this time?
That I didn't look into that enough yet to know. I know there's definitely somebody involved. I didn't look at the actual filings of that or who's trying to file that, but
it doesn't like, I don't think it would even stand ground for an app, because so here's the thing. Have you traveled outside of the United States at all?
I mean, sort of. Like, I've been to the Bahamas, which is technically like outside the United, like, but I've never been to like Italy, France.
It's like it's like East Florida, the Bahamas.
Yeah. I mean,
so okay, so
I've been to Puerto Rico, but that's still technically the U.S.
That's South Florida.
Yeah.
So if TikTok is trying to say we're going to sue you guys, and it's a Chinese company that's suing, I don't think that it would stand any merit because
Probably not.
They okay. So I've been to Beijing, and I wasn't allowed to use Facebook. I wasn't allowed to use my Instagram.
I was going to say that too.
I wasn't even allowed to use Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail. I wasn't allowed to use a lot of things that I normally have the luxury to use here. I actually had to log into one of their things and create my own account, and then I ran a script every time I took a picture or whatever when I was there. It would load up to this and then email it to myself or send it to somewhere where I could come back home and be like, cool, I have my stuff.
Yep.
But and the crazy thing is, so you have your cell phone, right?
Yep.
Right up on top, about, I don't know, maybe 45% of my screen was an advertisement in Chinese.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck is this? Like, how did this even, like, I was on their Wi-Fi and I'm like, how is this even possible? The second I went to Hong Kong, so I was in Beijing for a couple of days, and then I went to Hong Kong a couple of days. In Hong Kong, I was able to use Facebook, Instagram, Gmail. I was able to do everything. Hong Kong at that time, I think it was the United Kingdom actually just released Hong Kong to be their own country.
Yeah.
And China said, to hell with that. You're coming back to the motherland. And there's these riots. And I actually, when the first riot happened, I think it was in 2014, 13.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah. So I was there a week after they had the streets flooded of people where nobody was able to walk anywhere. I was there a week. I was very like, maybe I shouldn't go. And I kept watching it every day to see what it was doing. And finally they broke, I was so lucky, like the morning that I flew out to Beijing, they broke up a lot of that stuff. People were already back protesting in different ways, going to parks and stuff. But I also had an advertisement up there. And after that trip, I went to Tokyo and I had all the luxuries of everything. I was able to do whatever I wanted, but it also had another advertising up there. So I'm just like, what the freak is going on here? So I don't see how they're the ones that are blocking us, and you don't see us saying we're going to sue you for blocking our Facebook or whatever.
I don't think it both merit if it's the company themselves, but the company also has an American office. So maybe that branch is who's trying to do the suing. I don't know. I like I said, I haven't looked into it enough. In which case, maybe they have a little merit there, but
is Oracle owned? Who does or like? What country is Oracle owned by?
Oracle is Microsoft, aren't they?
No, Microsoft was also bidding for TikTok and lost to Oracle, which is another interesting thing because Oracle politically is a very big Trump supporter. They've done donations to Trump. They're very positive Trump. And here you have a company that somehow beat out Microsoft, which has less money than Microsoft, for the bid to own TikTok. And it's a company that, is a little bit questionable. I always viewed it as like, if you're a company, I just think in the political realm, and this is looking at it from the citizen's point of view of a free country. I don't think companies and corporations should really be involved in the politics of a country, because the people that run the country are elected to help the people, and we elect them to take care of us, not to take care of the corporation or the tech company, or you know what I mean, or other countries' leaders or any of that kind of stuff. And meanwhile, the biggest influencers in politics are the big companies.
Yeah.
So to me, the system is broken in that way. It really shouldn't be allowed.
Well, while we were just talking about all this just popped up where I know we were next put this on the side chat here on some beefing, some hamburger patties. But I went to click on my homepage on YouTube, and it says Trump approves TikTok deal with Oracle and Walmart.
Walmart. How does Walmart get in on TikTok?
I'm gonna watch. It's a 2-minute video.
Right away. First of all, I mean, I have so many questions. Like, what does Walmart want with TikTok in the first place? Number one. Number two is Walmart is like the biggest offender of importing Chinese goods constantly at lower prices and hurts the American manufacturing process and like, which Trump is like super against, you know, in all his talking. Meanwhile, you give it to Walmart? Like they're a huge benefactor to China because they import so much stuff from China that they sell to us in America. It's so weird.
This is also okay. So you know how we make fun of the fake news here in the United States. You know, that's like a common term.
It is. I have a lot of thoughts on that working for the news, but we can get into
that. Yeah. So Fox News is the one that posted this. And you know, Fox News is not a big fan of Trump. So it's kind of like, this is how they titled it. Trump approves TikTok deal with Oracle, Walmart. So I'm interested, you know, of course I'm going to watch it later to see, wait a minute, are they just throwing Walmart in there just to throw some kind of, like you said, these guys import so much stuff on there. Are they just poking the bear? What are they doing? You know,
that's a weird thing, you know, but Fox News is generally the one, you know, network here that's more on Trump. You know, they talk to him often, and they, you know, sort of, I guess. I mean, I don't look at any news like that's a legitimate news outlet, whether it's like the biggest, like the easiest ones to use right now are like CNN and Fox News, because there's always war. It's always like, you know, oh, war. I work for a company that literally owns one of those stations. Okay. So I watch both channels and I watch the news all the time, and I'm part of that cycle in a way. You know, I deal with it more on the print side than the television side, but I'm still involved in this in an everyday thing. And the whole thing about it is that if you actually take the time, if anyone can do this, you take the time one day when a breaking news story happens, go to Fox News and watch it, hit record. And if you got a second tuner, record CNN at the same time. And then go back and watch it after. Neither one of them is lying to you about the facts. It's not fake news. It's actual legit facts with a shitload of biased opinions placed on those facts. But if you just listen for the facts of what's being reported without, you tune out the biasness, the news is actually identical from both channels. Because they're not lying to you. They're telling you the news. But there's so much bias and influence coming from the stations that they literally can make you almost believe that you're listening to two completely different news stories. Because the way that it's like who, what, when, where, why is the same. Like, maybe not why, but who, what, when is the same. This is what happened, this is who did it, and when. Why it's good or bad, totally subjective. They take that out of the fact and turn that into an opinion. Because it's someone's opinion that owns those companies. It's in the owner of that company's best interest that they believe to say, this is bad or this is good. And that's why you have two totally different viewpoints on the same story, and why it seems like it's two totally different things. But the actual fact of the matter is the same. And you can do that for any news story, any day of the week, anytime there's breaking news, record both channels, learn to filter out the biased opinion. Take the opinion out of it, and you'll just get facts. Do I think that's right? No, it's wrong. We shouldn't have the bias in the news. We should just have the facts. People should be able to make up their own opinions on those facts. But instead, people mostly become mindless and believe everything that one station tells you or the other as a fact. And that's kind of the problem. And that separates things further, you know? So the media is at fault. The people are at fault for not being more subjective, being more open-minded. and the division becomes worse and worse, the more everyone thinks they're always right.
So with staying on that politics, I know here this 2020 has probably been an entire what the hell has been going on. It's there's a couple of channels that I watch and I like to see like what's going around the world. I'm a Christian, so I'm a believer, and I read the Bible, and I kind of look at, you know, what it says, signs on YouTube, or, you know, what's going around the world. And this year has just been the biggest. Like, I don't know. Everyone's saying 2020 was going to be the year for clarity, and it's going to be for 2020. It was just going to. Supposedly it was going to be such a good year, a different year, and you know what? Like, rolling into 2020, it was starting to be extremely good. Like, I think our economy was coming up really nice. Like, there's just so many things, so many positive things that was happening, and you know, I know the whole COVID thing was just starting, and then freaking Kobe Bryant's passing. There was like random elephants dying in freaking Africa, and then fish dying in, I think it was
the whole coral reef died in Alaska. I mean, in Australia. Like,
it was gender reveals in California.
Next Level's beard gone.
Yeah, that was the biggest loss of 2020. Next Level's beard.
Big time. But it's been such a crazy, I don't know, this whole year has just been a what the hell. But just sticking with the politics, when this whole thing started, you don't have any military background, I'm guessing. You're just...
Me personally, no. But my family, a lot of my relatives have been in the military, and my best friend was killed in Iraq, in the Iraq War. I mean, I'm a very pro-military individual.
Oh yeah. So I know this year everyone's trying to like scramble. Like, it sucks because I think with the presidency here in the States, it's been, and I think with Bush was okay. He wasn't bad. I think he did a decent job. I was like, for me, I wasn't mad about him. I think everybody makes mistakes, and it's like what you said before. It's how you learn from them, and you can tell he was definitely a learner. I want to say once Obama came into presidency, and when he was running originally, the term of the lesser of two evils started. And when I forget who he ran the first time against. I know Mitt Romney was the second one he ran up against.
Yeah, wasn't it McCain the first time?
Oh,
it was McCain and Sarah Palin.
Was it McCain?
Sarah Palin was the VP nominee. Was McCain's VP choice.
I think you're right. All I remember was literally when they both came about, I'm just like, I'm like, dude, like, it was literally like, okay, like, I was just digging into it. And a lot of people started to use the term of lesser of two evils during his first presidency. The second presidency, same thing. I think you started hearing it more. And then when it was Trump against Hillary, that one was like...
That became absolutely... But I believe that a big portion of all of this comes down to social media. And the influence that social media has on politics these days. Because, I mean, I've actually ran this experiment myself, working for the media, just to see, like, what would happen. And I have, I have my own business now, too, that I actually made. But I started with a friend that already had a business, and after 2016, and I said, take your business, go on Facebook. I want to look at your account. I want to see how this works. And you can pay to have your ad shown to certain people.
Yeah.
And you can pick those people literally by, like, Facebook has so much information on you that you can go to a conspiracy theorist group, let's say, right? Like, at the time there was groups for like Pizzagate, which was obviously bullshit, right? You could go to Pizzagate group and say, oh, there's 1,000 members in Pizzagate group. Facebook, how much do I have to pay you to run my ad to these 1,000 people? Because if I'm going to spout some bullshit myself, let's say I create a website, and it's so easy. We all know how to do this. It doesn't even cost a lot of money to make a website, throw a template up, make it look like a legitimate news site, write your own story, put a photo on it, and say, this is news. You could do that very easily.
Breaking news.
Right? Breaking news. Now I have a legitimate news site because I made it myself. Who the hell am I to make a news site and report the news, right? But I could do that, and I could go to Facebook and say, I want every one of these 1,000 members of this conspiracy theorist group, you to advertise my site to them on their Facebook feed. And I'd also like to expand that with 4,000 other people that have similar beliefs. Maybe find some other conspiracy theorist groups that match that. Facebook will find those people to you, target your ad just to those people. And then all of a sudden, you have chosen people that are more adept to conspiracy theories. So you have a better chance of those people believing that your news site is real. Now they're taking your news site, linking it on their own wall and sharing it with their other friends who probably also think similar to them, because people generally tend to be close with others that have similar viewpoints most of the time. And all of a sudden you have the biggest new news site that tons of people are talking about by giving Facebook a few grand. And that's all it takes. And anybody could do that. Russia can do it. China could do it. You know, government agencies and other places could masquerade as businesses and do it. And that leads to what I consider today to be the era of disinformation. Mm-hmm. Because anyone can say anything and people just eat it up.
Yeah. I know I'm not an American. I don't live in America. I'm just the
you're north
child that lives up north. And watching politics in America, I mean, I'm not very political at all. So I'm not going to try to sit here and debate politics with you guys. But I mean, I was really hoping I was going to see the next election with Trump, Michelle Obama, and Kanye West. And I thought that would have been
entertainment value.
Huh?
You want the entertainment value.
I mean, that's what it looked like it was getting. We were getting the Twitter champion, and then we were going to get Kanye West, who was going to be his heir to his throne because he was funding him. And then Michelle Obama is coming out hard with her podcast right now. She's really gaining a lot of followers and a lot of support. And I thought it would have been, well, I had one more person I wanted to see in that, and that would have been Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I thought that would have been hilarious to see, Kanye West.
He's legally not allowed to run.
Yeah, legally.
He's actually the one person Trump could say isn't an American and can't be on the ballot.
Yeah. So I guess, how do you feel about the current running, and what's your opinion about, where it could go from here? Because what it's November that it's happening, right?
Yeah, November 3rd.
It's away.
We have 47 days, 46 days left, something like that, before election day. For me, I've never I'll be upfront with you guys and just say I have voted both ways. I'm not a person that is I feel like that's a big problem, because the parties make themselves out to, they portray the other party as like the devil always. And anyone that has common sense and lives a normal life should be able to look at their own life and say, there's two sides to every story, and somewhere in the middle is the truth. And these guys have such different stories on both sides of politics. And I'm not just talking about when I say these guys, I don't just mean Trump and Biden. Right. I mean the Republicans and the Democrats, period. Everything is a fight. Everything is a problem. How many times has this government almost been shut down, or wasn't it actually shut down for a while at one point? Because they can't come to an agreement. But this needs to stop. That's my opinion. And whoever is that far apart on either side, extremely the other way, are the ones that need to go. Because you are now causing this country to go into lockdowns economically. You don't pass new budgets in time because you just want to bicker and fight, and nobody can compromise. And if you can't compromise, you don't belong in politics. I mean, the primary job of a politician is to reach across an aisle and compromise, because when you really boil politics down to it, you're serving the people and not just the ones that voted for you, because those are not the only Americans in America. Once you're in, you must consider all of America. I hate seeing so many comments. Like, I go on Twitter a lot and I look up, like we just had Justice Ginsburg passed, right? And there's the whole big hoopla with that. And I looked up one of the senators from Maine. She's a Republican, and she said, I don't believe we should vote somebody in until after the election. She's one of the few Republican senators that said that. Mm-hmm. I looked at the comments underneath that. It was the most vitriol, vile, disgusting hate comments she was getting from people that support Trump. That, I mean, like, you can have your opinion, and I'm fine with that. If you think that he should be able to vote someone in, okay, cool. What's with the damn hate for someone else disagreeing with you? Mm-hmm. Like, she's allowed to have her own opinion on it. Mm-hmm. And quite honestly, she's more inept to know the laws of the land and the politics than some guy that lives in a trailer in Alabama who's telling her that she's a disgusting disgrace to American politics.
Yep.
Like, dude, you live in a trailer and you have 2 teeth, and like you think your cell phone is like spying on you constantly, and you put a tinfoil hat on, but you're on Twitter with 0 followers and like 12 posts telling this. Like, if you're also in the realm of politics, you can argue it with her. If you're a very well-versed lawyer in legal terms and constitutional law, argue it with her respectfully. Mm-hmm. But all these people that swear they're right and know everything and literally know nothing, and like, that stuff just drives me insane, that there's so much hate and just like spread out. I mean, I went under those comments and saw the most disgusting. I mean, literally people telling her that she should die and that she's worthless and she's a piece of shit and goodbye, can't be wait to be rid of you in November, and you've done nothing for us ever. Like, this woman is, I don't know how many term senator and whatever the case is. Like, you can't, like, because someone has one view on one thing, the fact that people will go against you to that level of anger and hatred, to me, is just, I feel like America is not America when we see that. Like, that's not what this country is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And I think that both sides of politics need to realize that no matter who's running, whether it was Hillary and Trump, whether it was Obama and McCain, whether it was Bush, and I can't even remember who ran against Bush anymore, whether it was Clinton and I can't remember, George Bush Sr., like, whoever, they all ran against someone else. And when you look at the results of those elections, even the largest landslides of them, still, what do we have? 65% maybe of Americans voted for one person? That still leaves 35% of millions of people that chose the other side. And that means that whoever comes into that office and represents this country needs to remember that, and needs to go in there with dignity and respect for even those that didn't vote for them, because they still are in charge of those that didn't vote for them, and they still set policies for those that didn't vote for them. Mm-hmm. So this whole thing about shoring up bases and going after this, like, all of that is just like, it's gone too far. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like you're dividing, the politics divides this country, I think, more than anything else in the whole country.
And that's what I'm saying. It's with when Obama's first election, I want to say that's when the ball started to roll, because people started to see a side of politics that nobody saw before. I think the biggest black and white picture, and I know some people might get mad because they wanted Hillary Clinton to be in. I did not want Hillary at all. But it proved my point. And this is not, I'm not throwing women under the bus at all, because there's some very strong women out there that are not sore losers and will go and shake the winner's hand and walk away with their dignity, and congratulate them. Every single person who has lost always makes I don't know if you want to call it a loser speech. And they always say, we are still all Americans. We need to support whoever's there and go for it.
It happens every primary too. You know, these guys go at it within their own party, and then they make a speech when they lose, and they say, you know, vote for this guy anyway because he's closer to my beliefs than the other one, or I support him, you should support him too. You know, things of that nature.
And Hillary wasn't like that. Hillary she threw a pity party. You know, you saw the cameras on both sides. They're both with their balloons and parties, and everybody's there drinking. And I think
a big part of that came from the fact that nobody thought she would lose, including herself, and she was just in shock. I think she made, you know, she went a little extra there because I don't think almost anyone in America thought she was going to lose. Mm-hmm. You know, and you know, I wasn't a Hillary fan either. But, you know, like, I'm not a Trump fan. To me, like, I'm never a fan of an individual.
You're a fan of America.
No one person represents all of America. They just don't. And the more what's the right word for that? The more the words on the tip of my tongue and I can think of it, but like the more someone is revered and the more like people put someone on a pedestal, like they look at them like I have never seen more people than right now treat the words of Trump like Jesus himself is speaking. It's like almost cultish. It's crazy. I'm like, he's one man.
You'll see the other half too, where they do the complete, like one side Jesus, the other side's the devil.
Yeah, like and the Democrats will run ads like he's the absolute devil, you know, and it's like, but I'm not even talking about like the parties themselves and what they do. I'm talking about the citizens.
Social media. It's social media.
Like, the citizens, I look at how they view Trump, and I'm just like, whoa, like you look at this man and think like he solves every problem in the world. And he's not going to do that. He's one man. He's just a man. Whether he's here for 4 more years or not, he's going to be gone in either a few months or 4 years, and you're never going to see him as your leader again. Like it's kind of scary to watch the level to which, like I have a coworker, right? I'll share this story with you. We because we're working from home a lot, we're on, you know, video conferencing. And because I'm in the media, we have to watch the conventions. So, you know, we watched the DNC convention, and for whatever reason, when it got to the RNC convention, I was cool with like the first 2 days or whatever, but the last day, I was like, this to me feels like fear mongering. It's too far. I was like the things that are being said, like a bunch of the stuff we in the media already know isn't true. Like they went too far. And I was like, so my buddy who I work with, and I've worked with him for the whole time I've been there, and we were friends. He said, well, what did you think of tonight's RNC? And I said, well, I didn't really like tonight's RNC. He said, why not? I said, well, I felt like some of the stuff was very fear-mongerish. And he lit off into me like nobody's business. Like this in the camera, spit flying out of his mouth.
Oh my God.
What do you mean fear-mongering? I saw nothing but hope. You don't love your country. Blah, blah. I was like, dude, I've known you for 20 years. Calm down. I'm talking about the speeches and the way they went. I did not agree with what they were, the angles they took today in the speeches. Like, it was really a negative message to me. That's how I viewed it. It was very like, you must vote this way or we'll all die. Like, and I'm not going to ever subscribe to that on either side. I don't care who says it. We're not all going to die if one person is elected or the other. The entire country is not going to fall into absolute chaos, whether one person is elected or the other. You know, like, you gotta keep an even head with these things. And, you know, I look at things like you mentioned the economy earlier before COVID. And a lot of people like the economy technically was good before COVID on the surface level.
Yeah.
It was good. But there's one thing that a lot of people look at to view the economy, and it's really the stock market most of the time. It's like the biggest factor. And the stock market is really not representative of what's happening currently in the economy. It's because most people in America don't own stocks, most regular citizens. So their money is not factored into this. Their financial well-being is not factored into it. It's a lot of rich people playing rich people games in the stock market. But one thing that I've always looked at is NIIP. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's like net international investment position. And it's basically the entire gross domestic product of a country combined with their country's debt at the same time. And I feel like that's a much better indicator of the trending, the way an economy is trending. And if you go to history and you look at when we've had crashes in the economy, like 08, before 08, remember, Bush was president and everything was good and the economy seemed good. And people were arguing, well, that was things that Clinton did and it takes time for them to come in. And then Bush said, I did it all. And it's the same shit over and over and over again. It's always everyone wants to have the credit and no one wants to have the blame. And it's like, well, why can't anyone just realize that like both parties at times do things that benefit the economy, but they do it in different ways? That's all it really is. It's like nobody's totally demolishing the economy, and nobody ever wants to come in and totally demolish the country they run. I don't believe that. I don't believe either party. Like right now, it's like if you vote in Joe Biden, the entire country will be lawless. And I'm like, do you really think Joe Biden wants to come in and just have riots continuing? And like, nobody wants that. Mm-hmm. Trump doesn't want it to continue, but he goes about it a different way. He goes about it with showing force and saying, I'm going to send federal troops in here to fuck people up. Yeah. And Biden saying, well, we need to maybe try to do something that plays to the objectives of what these people are angry about. And it's two different ways to achieve the same result, but both people want the same result. They want it to stop. Mm-hmm. So neither one is the devil per se, and neither one is Jesus. Like, they're just people and they have different philosophies, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. How about a little bit of a show of force, and maybe we attach a medical unit anytime a no-knock warrant happens at the same time as well. How about, you know what I mean? You can do things from both sides and come up with something that works. You don't have to, and the biggest thing to me that bothers me right now a lot is that people feel like if you have an American flag, you're a Trump supporter. Like, when did the American flag become Trump's flag? And that's what I mean, that it's like so bad that people view him this way and put him on this pedestal. Because it's like, if I carry an American flag, I'm a Trump supporter. No, I'm an American who carries a flag because I love my country. Mm-hmm. And whether I vote for Trump or not, I love my flag.
You're still an American.
I'm still an American.
Right.
No matter who I vote for, it's like people on politics, like the actual politicians on both sides, need to stop the shit. The country citizens need to stop the shit. Like, you need to come together and say, you know what? What is it that you want? What is it that I want? How can we get some of what we both want? And make something that works for people and make something that improves people. Because it's just nature. I live in a big city. Do I give a shit about what farmers want in Idaho? Theoretically, I don't. But I understand that I should, and I learn what they need because they are Americans just like me. But I don't sometimes see that. I'm sure some farmers care about what people in the city want, but I see city people that don't give a shit about, what a farmer wants. And I see farmers that go, fuck those city guys. It's not going to help anything. It's like, okay, what do you need to continue to thrive as a farmer? And how can that get put into a bill that also benefits me in the city, or also benefits the tech industry at the same time? People, and nobody's ever going to figure that out as long as everyone keeps pointing fingers at each other and calling each other.
Right. Because I think earlier in one of our conversations, you had mentioned, the American dream was to have a home, or like to have that. But I think the dream, no matter what country you have, is the freedom to create your dream. You dictate exactly what it is, right? So if a farmer wants to be a farmer, how do they continue to be a farmer? If you want to go out and create your own TV station, how do you do that? Do you have the freedom to do that? It's really about that exploration to determine who and what you are in a country. And that's what the dream should be.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. Like that, you really couldn't have said it better. Everyone has their own American dream. Mm-hmm. If you're an American, and for some people, it may be to work for a company and work your way up your whole life and just have a quiet life and have a white picket fence and a dog and a family. And that's great. If that's what you want to do it. If you want to be
your dream, you do
your own business, do it. Mm-hmm. But it's inherently harder to do some things than others. And you have to recognize that and accept that. But should it be harder?
Right, exactly.
And if you're an entrepreneur, and let's say you find it harder to be an entrepreneur and make a living for yourself than somebody working for a big company, maybe when you get your entrepreneur rolling and you become uber successful and people start to know who you are, why don't you look into politics and then go, how can I make it easier for others to do what I've done? If you don't put in any legwork towards it, how much of a legitimacy do you have to complain? Like you can know about a subject and speak on it, but if you're not doing anything to help, complaining doesn't get you there. Understanding, learning, bettering yourself, that gets you wherever you're trying to go. Negativity never gets you there. So, and that goes for anything. It goes for your entrepreneurship. It goes for working for a company. It goes for politics. It goes for, rights. It goes everything.
YouTube.
And like we said, it's all about how far you're willing to take it and what's beneficial for you. But I am alarmed presently at the level of vitriol, hatred, anger amongst citizens in this country, and that's on both sides. It's not a one-sided thing.
I have one thing that's always kind of driven me personally, and I've always been looked at to be a very calm and collected person. And I've had people, approach me in workplaces or approach me in my personal life and be very irate, and they get absolutely nothing from me. They don't get a response. They don't get emotion. They don't get anything, because in my head, at the end of the day, I kind of, I have to say to myself, whatever they're dealing with in their life is bigger than me. And if I have to be, that vent that they have to go through to kind of help themselves cope with whatever situation it is, because a lot of times when people are irate and they're angry and they lash out, it's not the situation that they're actually lashing out at that is causing those deep emotions to surface.
Yeah, they were already.
You have to take a step back and you have to understand that, being on the receiving end of it. And you have to say, I'm sorry you're dealing with whatever you're dealing with in your life, and I hope that it gets better for you.
Yeah. And it's a hard thing for a lot of people to do. Yeah. Because you're basically getting like verbally assaulted in the moment. Mm-hmm. And most people's natural reaction is either fight or flight. That's just nature. It's the way we are. Yeah. And like me, naturally, I'm fight. I don't flight. Mm-hmm. So when someone does that to me, I want to just go right up in their face and just be like, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like I get this burning little bit of anger inside of me because I don't deserve what's happening to me right now. Yeah. That's the first inkling that I have. That's the first feeling I naturally get. Mm-hmm. But I always just go, and I say, you know what? When this person started that tirade at me, they had that same feeling. They just can't control themselves. Mm-hmm. And I need to be the bigger person here and maybe help them to say when it's all said and done, I always tell them whatever it was, whether you truly believe it was something I said or whether you recognize that it was something that already happened before, and maybe something I said just triggered you and it really shouldn't have gone down the way it did. You need to find what that was and how it made you feel and recognize that in the future and train yourself to be better, because what you did is unacceptable. I won't stand for it. I won't let them do it again. Like, I'll stand there the first time, I'll take it, and I'll try to help them better themselves. If you come back to me and do it again, I'll just walk away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, I'm out of here. Sorry, bye. You can yell at yourself.
Yeah.
I have a feeling once the voting is done, I don't know. I agree with what you're saying with the RNC. It was just very like, this has to happen or we're going to hell. On the flip with the Democrats, it was more of a, we can't have this guy in office anymore, please. You know, it was crying time, like on both sides. And I'm just like, dude, can you guys just get to the point of what you're gonna do to fix stuff, not just cry if this guy.
And that's the problem. You know, nobody's really doing it. Everyone's just talking about the other person the whole time, and the other person the whole time. And the thing that gets me, and this is kind of funny, is like, what tipped me over the top literally recently, I went on YouTube, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was an ad that showed up at the top of my YouTube on my phone. It was paid for by, like, you know, some Trump, it was, you know, the Trump paid for thing. It was an ad about lawlessness in America if Biden is elected, and showing some old woman, like a really elderly woman, calling 911 and getting an answering machine saying nobody's here to help you right now because Joe Biden is president and the police have been defunded. And it shows someone breaking into her house at the same time. And I'm like, yo, like, stop this shit. Like, that's never gonna happen. Mm-hmm. Like, and you're rallying a base of elderly people with fear. And I'm a very moral person. And I just feel like, you know, take politics out of anything and just look at morals. Mm-hmm. And because I already stated, like, I'm 40 years old. I've lived through so many presidents, Republicans, Democrats, democratically controlled Senates, houses. My day-to-day life is very, very similar. It's not all that affecting to me or almost anyone else I ask, you know, like, and I'm not saying that our lives are as good as they should be. And I'm not saying that my life is worse than anyone else's or better than anyone else's. I'm just saying that I think you could ask just about anyone. You know, people talk about, like, the poor in cities or whatever. People talk about the rich and how much money they have, or the middle class and the shrinking middle class, the lower middle class. You kind of float where you are as long as you're doing things the same way, no matter who's in charge, you know, like, for the most part. And I think that's representative of probably at least 90% of people I've ever asked, and probably 90% if you polled the country, no matter who's in charge. So does it really matter that much that people are the devil and you want to fight and kill your brother or your best friend, or you know what I mean? Like, you're taking something and vilifying people, and you know, like, I totally hate the term Sleepy Joe. I think that's just so derogatory. Like, whether it's true or it's not, what about the elderly person that has Alzheimer's? What are you saying to that person when you call another person Sleepy Joe? What are you saying to their families? Are you saying you don't care about those people? Like, it's just disgusting. It's derogatory. I hate those kind of things. Mm-hmm. You know, I hate that elderly ad that I saw. That kind of stuff is like, anything that's fear-mongering or putting down one class of person, I don't like. And I don't care who does it. You know, I just don't like it. To me, it's not representative of good character of an individual to do something like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I look at that kind of stuff and I say, like, you know, that's not the type of person, because you have to remember, I mean, Next Level's Canadian, so maybe he can speak on this a little. But I've had people from other countries that I talked to that I met through my regular job, through the streaming world, people in England, people in, like, I've met people in Thailand, like, all over different places, like, just having regular communication with them. And a lot of people ask me, like, what do you think of Trump from other countries? And, you know, I just say, like, I don't like him as a person. I think he's a very disgusting person. I'm not talking about politics or policies. I think he's a disgusting person.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel, and I tell them all the time, like when people ask me in the country, I'm like, what do you think of Trump? Because I feel like the rest of the world laughs at us. Is that true? And literally every single one of them has said, most of the time, yeah. Like, you know, he makes us like laughable to the rest of the world because of his not his policies. Because he wasn't even a politician. It's his personality. It's the stuff that comes out of his mouth that doesn't even necessarily have to do with politics, that just drives me nuts and makes other people laugh at us, you know?
Now, on the flip, we did have an interview with Dimitrology, and we did talk about that a little bit, like, you know, what do you think? And he does say, like, dude, that guy is just so far out there, you know? But the one common thing, so I got family like in Australia and El Salvador. I got family everywhere. I've talked to a lot of people, same like you, like all over the world. And everybody says, yes, we laugh, but we're also very scared because we know the power that the United States has. Yeah. And if Trump is the one with the finger on the button and he has a very itchy finger, they're just like, yeah, we laugh at him because of how he makes himself look like. But if he just shut up and tried to do work, then the respect would be a hell of a lot different. But
I agree. And so, there's some things, he's done a few things where I've been like, I agree with that. I like that. Like, I'm a very objective person. Somebody actually called me out on my channel once because we got into politics a little bit, saying I'm selling out because I don't take a side. I'm like, no, I am the exact opposite. All of you sell out on both sides by instantly agreeing. You're like sheep. You instantly agree with everything each side says, then you don't have a mind anymore. Mm-hmm. Every problem is different. Every scenario is different. Every bill that comes before Congress is different. Mm-hmm. And you should be able to objectively look at that bill. And if you're an American citizen and you really care, those same people spewing that vitriol on Twitter should be looking through every page of every bill and understanding what it says. Because if you're that passionate to go yell at a senator and tell her she should die, you better know what the hell you're yelling about. Mm-hmm. And they don't. People don't go online. You can read the whole bill online. And the media, who I work for, is just as bad. Because it'll be like coronavirus bill declined by Democrats or declined by Republicans or whatever, because they both declined them. Mm. But that's all it says. And they just, all sides will make it out like the other side doesn't want to help the American people. Meanwhile, there's like 57 things attached to that bill, which is the real reason it got declined, that have nothing to do with the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. And nobody looks at those things. They don't understand. They just look at the headlines of the news and they go, oh, nobody cares about us. And it's like, that's not the whole story. If you really care that deeply and you're spewing hatred and ready to fight your friend and calling people terrible names online that you don't even know and wish they would die, then you really need to educate yourself more on what's in a bill and what each party, and you can't even go by what each party stands for because that changes all the time. So the fact that anyone that says like, I'm a lifelong Democrat and I always will be and nothing will ever change that is closed-minded. And same way on the Republican side. Like, you can't do that because, most people don't even know, like, and they don't realize it. I see this happening a lot too. Like current generation politicians, like Republicans now, love to take credit for like freeing the slaves because Lincoln was a Republican.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there was something called the party swap. You guys should look that up. Like a long time ago. And even before that, most people don't even realize that the Democrats and the Republicans were once one party. Mm-hmm. They were the same party. And the only reason that all this stuff exists today of hatred on both sides, I mean, not the only reason, but what started it all was that when they split apart, they needed to be different. Otherwise, what was the point? And from there, obviously, it's just gone all over the place and it's crazy. But in the beginning, the Republicans, though, throughout history, and the reason the party flop happened, and the Democrats throughout history as well, but the Republicans have always been more the party of business, and in the beginning, when this country was first formed, businesses wanted tariffs, restrictions, railways, the things that the Democrats want now, but because that was beneficial to the business to get their products across the country, to make sure another business wasn't doing something crazy to get ahead of them or shut them down in the beginning of business in this country. And now they don't want those things anymore. They don't want government oversight. They don't want so the swap of party swapping was aligned with business. It was like, we're going to now support what businesses want, because you need something completely different as a business when you're establishing yourself than you do when you're already successful. You need two very different things. You need help. You need a bigger government, more support when you're first starting. But once you have your own business and you're huge, you want them to stay the hell out of your stuff so you can make even more money.
Right. And it kind of reminds me of this whole battle that Epic Games is going through with Apple right now, right?
Yeah.
Apple across the board, and Google's at fault for this too, but across the board, they're charging all of these companies 30% off of their profit line, right? And if you think about this, outside of the online world, what company could survive with 30% of their profit being taken from them?
It's difficult. If you're in a business, right? Because I own my own business now too. And I kind of did even before I legitimized it. I always worked under DBA and my own name and did different things. So as a small business owner myself, I recognize a lot of things differently than before I was a small business owner. And I think a lot of people that aren't in a position, like, have way too much opinion on it. If you've never experienced it, you shouldn't be so convicted about something that you haven't experienced. I don't own a giant corporation, but I've worked for one for 20 years. And to the point where I've literally sat down in a room with the guy that's a huge multi-billionaire and owns it, and discussed policies in the company. So I have a little bit of insight into that area of business. And that's a completely different area of business than being a small business owner, or being an entrepreneur for yourself. You need totally different things. Like, if you're looking for help somewhere from the government, you need totally different things in those two areas. Like you would actually, if you ran a huge business, and let's say you were starting your own business, but you weren't allowed to have any of your funds from your huge business. Like, this is totally theoretical because it would never happen. But like, let's say you ran a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and then you went to start a new business, and you had to start that business with $5,000, and you were not allowed to do anything except use those $5,000 and build off that $5,000, and you couldn't touch the other side that you already had that's way up here, and you're starting down here. You would vote for completely different people if all you cared about was your business down here than you're voting for your business up here, because it's two totally different sets of policies depending on where you are within your business. And if you can adapt that way in business, you have to be able to adapt that way in everyday life, because that's what it is. Your situation in life will change over time based on what you do. It's not based on who's in office. It's based on what you're doing.
Right.
And if everyone's only voting for their own interest at that moment in time, instead of thinking of the country as a whole, I think we miss the point. Because you're saying your convictions matter than the entire country. And it shouldn't be that way. Like, Rohas was in the military. Rohas didn't, and many of my family members too. And I don't know if Rohas necessarily agrees with what I'm about to say, but I have relatives that tell me all the time, I didn't go fight in a war for one side or the other. I didn't go fight in a war for half of a country.
Right.
When I fought in a war, I mean, my grandfather literally was at D-Day. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't fight so that Republicans and Democrats can do what they do today and act like the other side of the country doesn't matter.
Right.
And I find that a lot of ex-veterans that I know are generally not happy with both sides being the way that they are. But I find that a lot of people, like my buddy, he's in the reserves right now, the one that was screaming and yelling at me, and I question him on it, and he just hates it when I question him on it because, he's yelling at me, telling me that my opinion is garbage. And I'm like, what do you fight for, dude? Like, you're in the military, you go overseas, and you fight for who? And you fight for what's in the Constitution: freedom of speech, freedom from, everyone can have their own opinion. Everyone can state their own opinion. But you're telling me that I need to shut up and you're a soldier. Like, to me, I'm like, something has gone too far when that starts happening. Like,
it's I think a lot of it is the being privileged to say what you want, and there's no, I don't know, I guess there's no repercussions on stuff. Like, whatever you say is 100%. Like when right now, when you're saying about how they were on Twitter saying you should die and you should do this and do that, that's somebody's mom, grandma, cousin, sister. What if you took that, like everything what you're saying, take that exact same analogy and imagine somebody saying that to your own mother or your own sister or cousin or whatever. Are you still more inclined? Are you like, I know us as kids, we always used to tell our parents, I hope you die, I never want to see you again. Then you slam your door and you take your He-Man toy and start with them.
But Grayskull.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, are we? And that's exactly what it is. The mentality right now there, and this is sad, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds are acting like we're in freaking grade school. And it's just like, what is it like right now with what you're saying? There's some stuff I agree, and there's some stuff that I disagree, but I'm not over here yelling at you and calling you names, because this is how I learned that, like, if you think again, if one person is 100% correct on everything, then you're not learning, you're not growing, you're being closed-minded, and that's not how it works. When people had these two different parties, and they're not saying like, hey, you need to be my team blue, my team red. It's like, no, they have different parties, because they, back in the day, like you said, they had to have, people were pro one thing or pro another. So it's kind of like, wait, if you really want to get down to it, instead of looking on this side or that side, why don't you look at, hey, what are you trying to do with the policies that we currently have in place? What are you trying to do? And I did like when Trump said trying, like making America great again. I don't think America was ever bad to begin with, like when he was coming in, but the thing that he said with that American dream, where we dreamt about being our own boss, owning our own house, or whatever dream your parents came from, clear across the world, or either across the world, across a fence, across a border, across the river, the ocean, wherever you came from, because the United States is based on immigrants. And to be real, if anybody ever says, well, they should get out of America, it's just like, wait a minute, that means we all need to get out of here.
Yep.
Because none of us were, like, our families are, if you want to look at it, the natives, the American natives, okay, cool, they're the ones that need to take over, and everybody else get the hell out of here.
Yep. I mean, if you really look at it, but nobody, like, I've said this to people, the same thing you just said, and people dismiss it like, well, it's not their country anymore. They don't even, like, there's hardly any left. I'm like, and you think they can't procreate? You could leave and they procreate, and the country would just keep going. Like,
they'll get
yesterday or the day before, the area that my girlfriend lives in is actually really close to native reserves. And every time a company goes in and they try to do a development of houses, the natives will literally go into those houses and take them over and live in them. And they're like, these are our houses now. But I mean, which has been taken from them, you can't really blame them for feeling the way they feel, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, and that's what I mean. I don't think anybody should be blaming anyone for how they feel, because everyone has their own life and their own existence.
Mhm.
And if you feel a certain kind of way, that's fine, because that's come about from your existence. As long as you're not hurting somebody because of your beliefs, as long as you're not physically harming someone or emotionally abusing someone, you're entitled to your beliefs. You know, when you take it beyond that level and you start harming others, that's when, you know, you shouldn't, you know, the Constitution doesn't really allow you that. It doesn't say, okay, because you believe something, you can go and harm, you know, other people and or kill someone, or, you know, beat someone up, or whatever the case is. But you should be entitled to your beliefs and entitled to free speech, so long as, you know, it's done responsibly along with your opinion. That's fine, you know. But when what I think is really one of the biggest problems in this country today is that the opinions of the super rich, who are the ones that own the media, are the ones that get heard the loudest and heard the most.
Mhm.
And that is the biggest problem today. And it's both sides, you know. People, all you hear so much from like the Trump side, because there are more sort of Democratic leaning news stations than there are Republican ones, right? But Fox News is clearly a Republican station. Now, they come on and say, we have fair and balanced news. That's their slogan. No, it's not. You're just going out and totally debasing what the other side is saying to try to make it fair and I win. If you wanted to do something smart, you should have made that news station and went, we're going to tell news without any ideology involved and just give you the facts. And then you'd make the other side look stupid, and maybe they'd change their policies. But instead, you dug in your trenches and you went, I'm going to just debase everything they say and go exactly the opposite way.
You know what? This is exactly like YouTube, where and next and I have laughed about this so much when people say, there's other YouTubers, not going to mention them, but they say, I am unbiased. I am so unbiased on this review. I'm just gonna say what it is, and then the whole video, I don't like it. This sucks, and this thing is this and that, and it's just like, wait a minute. when you first say, I do not like it, that is not unbiased. You're not. It's literally, and people have made fun of me personally about this, saying like, dude, you're a good fucking salesman. Like, you just you show it, you talk about it, you say everything that it's doing, everything that it's not doing. But do you like it? And Next Level found a way actually to get around that. He'll say, yeah, so we understand what the specs are, we understand how it works and how the box, but would Rohas buy it? So then he tries to get my opinion on stuff. I'm like, damn it.
You know, it's a tough realm, and I think that that's something that people need to start checking themselves on. Whether it's YouTube, politics, whatever. It's like, I can review a product on YouTube and say, I don't like this product. It's not necessarily biased. It's my opinion. I don't like it. But I need to go out and say, I don't like this product. Here's what I did like about it. Maybe it's for you, but I don't like it for these reasons, so I personally wouldn't buy it. Then you're not being biased. You're not saying don't buy this. If you go out and you trash something 100%, I don't like it because of XYZ, and you say nothing is good about it, then you shouldn't have made that video in the first place, because you just hurt that company for no reason. You should have just left them unknown, left them out there and said nothing. You know, you have to go into everything with an open mind and say, you know, like, what was that box, the B-Link GT King, right? I did a review on that box because the specs were good. I didn't like it myself. I would never use it over a Shield,
Right.
but I didn't entirely hate it. So I went on and I did this review, and I said, it's okay. At the price point that it's at, which was like $130 or $25, I said, I'd rather spend a little extra and get the Shield. It's too expensive. If this was $80, I'd probably buy it, you know, or $75. It's not terrible. I have a Shield, and I love my Shield. And this is why it doesn't equate to the Shield. These are things that it does similarly to the Shield. You know, if you don't care about X, Y, and Z that the Shield can do, this box might be for you.
Right.
Then I went out and I made another video changing the whole OS, which was what I hated the most, to Android TV on the Beelink GTK. And then I said, would I buy it now? Yes.
Yes.
if this box performed just like this out of the box and I didn't have to do this to it, I would buy it for 120 bucks. Because now it's actually like, I like Android TV OS. I find it to be the most simplistic, the easiest one. So I would buy it as is like this. Nothing against the box, because I just wouldn't buy it the other way. The hardware could clearly keep up. It was okay. It worked well, you know, but people are so quick to these days label you, especially on YouTube. You know, like I'm guilty of it. I did it to Rohas without even knowing Rohas was. And I'll share this with you. I did it. I saw a video you made about a Cat 8 Ethernet cable.
Yep.
And you put a link to buy one under it. It was definitely your link. And I went, nobody fucking needs this cable. Like, you live in a house, you can just buy a Cat 7 cable and it's cheaper. You know, and I'm like, but then I thought about it and I went, you know what? That's okay, because he's not wrong. Like, but my initial instinct, I had to check myself. So, I'm like, Rohas just wants to make money, because Rohas is like, buy a Cat 8 cable. It costs more, therefore I'm going to get more of my Amazon money when you buy it. You know? Like, then I stopped myself and went, that's so wrong with me. Like, I shouldn't think like that. Let me be more protective of it, you know? And I thought about it. I've told people about Cat 7 cables when Cat 6 was so popular and Cat 7 was more expensive. Why did I do that?
You've done the same thing.
Yeah, I'm like, it wasn't to make money. I did it because I legitimately believed that the shielding inside of the cable was better.
Exactly.
And then I researched the Cat 8 cable and went, this shielding is better than the Cat 7 cable. But I caught myself and I'm like, why did I say that? Like, why was that the thought that I think that we all in nature at times will do that. And we just have to be able to check ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, because like before, you should not, like, nobody should ever make statements angry. Nobody should ever digest some information and immediately make a response to that information. And
I did have a couple messages that were like, this is so overkill, this is so this, and so people were very, well, not a lot, but I did have a few people that were very pissed about that Cat 8 cable. And in my videos, if you scroll further down towards the bottom, I do have a little description that says these are affiliate links and I will get a cut. You know, so for me, I
do the same thing.
Yeah, and the 7 cable was great. Like there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with the 6. You know, it's for what we're doing. And I'm just like, you know, I know people are always looking for the best of the best. So let me really, and I did an extensive research on everything inside out of that thing. Like, just to really,
you weren't wrong. Like, you really weren't wrong. It's the best cable. You know what I mean? Like, it really is. So it's like, you know, I saw it and I went, wait. And then like, how much does this fucking thing cost? And I'm like, well, I mean, how much is the equivalent Cat 7 cable? And then, but then I researched the Cat 8 and realized, like, all right, yes, well, it's primarily used for server grade equipment in server rooms. In my house, I have 1 gig up and 1 gig down right now, you know, but I always subscribe to the idea of think about it as a straw. And if you need to suck water through a straw, how much harder do you have to work with a tiny hole than a giant hole? And if Cat 8 cable can do 40 gigabits per second and the Cat 7 cable can do 10, you just took your hole in your straw from this big to a giant hole. So now, as technologies advance, you future-proofed yourself and chose to buy a Cat 8. You know,
and that's a really good analogy. I'm gonna steal that.
You know, I think I'm gonna bring this home by saying, you know, it's all relatable. And if I was to bring that back to streaming, I'm a huge Amazon fan, right? I don't necessarily like the Shield, but I won't beat on. Well, sometimes I do, but anyways,
we beat on it all the time.
I beat on it all the time, but I'm never gonna tell somebody not to buy it. You see what I'm saying? I can get the same quality content, the same stuff for streaming through a 4K Fire Stick that I could get through the Shield, right? And a lot of people could say that the Shield is an overkill, but to say that it's the best device is not wrong.
Correct.
Right.
That's the thing. And I'll be the first to admit, I hated the first gen Fire Stick because it was so much slower and I already had a shield. So I did tell people I wouldn't buy that. If that's all you can get, go ahead and get it.
Right.
But I would save my money and buy a shield because I have them both and I can make a legitimate comparison. Second gen Fire Stick, I started telling people it's better. You'll be able to stream most of what you want without too much trouble. The first gen Fire Stick couldn't even run a VPN. How can I felt terrible. I felt like it was against my moral code because I've always been a VPN person even before theoretically, we needed them.
Right.
We don't need them even still, but I was using VPN for years before. I was using VPNs before I was streaming just because of I was always in the media and everything is done through a VPN because what what you have is exclusives, or you might have conversations with government officials, things of that nature. It all has to be done to a certain encryption level. So I always believed in VPNs from the beginning. But when the second gen Fire Stick came out, I'm like, at least it can run a VPN, and now it's a little, I didn't feel as bad to tell people okay, you can buy this. And now I tell people flat out, if you want to buy a 4K Fire Stick, that's fine. It gets the job done. Would I still buy a shield? Yes, that's me. You don't have to do what I do. But, I also do a lot of game ROMs and emulation. Shield is way better for that stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you're just streaming, the only thing I could say is a bit of a knock is on the 4K Fire Stick is in most people's circumstances, they only can use Wi-Fi, whereas I can hardwire. You can plug in and then but it's still not the same as having a full gigabit Ethernet port, running that way. But other than that, for streaming purposes, they both get the job done just fine. The Shield has a few more codecs, so it can handle a few more different types of file types.
But that's if people are really getting those really high quality files, which is not that common, right?
No, exactly. That's what I mean. It's not that common. If you want to watch remuxes, right, the Shield is your device. You're gonna have a problem with a 4K. But how many people are going, I want to download 88 gigabyte 4K remuxes to my Plex and watch that off of my server?
Right.
You're going to have a way better experience doing that on the Shield, but unless you're doing that, you don't need a Shield.
Right, 100%. But at the end of the day, though, there's still a lot of people that own the NVIDIA Shield that only do very basic streaming, right? The same way that, there's a lot of people that enjoy having the best of the best things out there, like Rohas loves, his 4K quality. There's going to be people out there that want to make sure that their networks are the best quality, so they'll go out and they'll go get the what is it, the 8 cables, right?
Yep.
It's just whatever works for you.
I got to redo a bunch of stuff in my house, so I'm about to buy some 8 cables myself.
Yeah.
But the prices are a little better now too. They're coming down a bit.
Proofing yourself at the end of the day as well, right?
Yeah. And I want to say something before we go too far on that, because we were talking a lot about different topics here. And I think what people should realize if you're watching this is that all of it, when we're discussing, why did I get mad about Rojas' video for a second? Why do I think that it's crazy to see so many people angry on both sides of the country? Why do everything? All of that stuff comes down to human behavior. It doesn't matter what the subject is: politics, streaming, technology, a company's business practices.
Yeah.
It all comes back to human behavior. And for me, that is the biggest factor in life. And I generally come out and say, I tell people my slogan is always stay supreme.
Yeah.
And I actually kick people out of my groups when they start insulting other people. I will ban them. Mm-hmm. And I always say, stay supreme is not about following me. Stay supreme is about how you live every day. Mm-hmm. And I think most of what I've tried to portray in this interview today is about behavior. And no matter what the topic is, it's about how do you address that topic? Mm-hmm. How do you better yourself through your own openness, your own open-mindedness? How do you behave around others? How do you treat other people, whether they agree with you or disagree with you?
Right.
So I just wanted to get that across real quick to say, that's always been what stay supreme means. It's like, you know, conduct yourself with respect to everyone, whether they're a busboy or a CEO, whether they just started out streaming on YouTube or they have 300,000K subscribers. You know, if you're a fellow YouTuber, treat someone just starting out the same way as, you know, you did when you started out. Don't act like you're bigger than them because you're at 75 or 100K now. Don't try to shut them down from starting their dream, you know? And even if their dream is different than yours, you promote different products than you do. So what? If that works for them and they believe in those products, let them live. Like, they're allowed to have that opinion and allowed to sell it. And who are you as another, you know, human being to say that some other human being's views are worth less than yours, or don't mean it? You know, like that's my general. I think I try to do that in almost every video I do when I'm speaking, and when people ask me questions. And it's always how I've been throughout life. I've always, even as a young child, looked at, you know, all kinds of situations, just me. So if I could sum myself up in a nutshell, you know, that's what stay supreme means, and that's how I try to live my life every day.
Nice. So I would say, so typically this is like towards the end of the show, and you pretty much you took that. Normally when I ask that, you pretty much just took it already and just threw it all in there. So the one thing I will ask before we end, if there's anything that you can tell the people, we normally say if there's anything, any way that you like to end your show, what would you like to tell everybody? How would you like to, like, you know, how do you end your show? How do you, what would you like to say to the people before we?
I want to end the show a little different
Go for it.
than I would end my show. And to end the show, I just want to say that I think being here today is a great experience. And I think that what you guys are doing is awesome for the community. And not just the streaming community. I hope that other people tap into your platforms and, you know, your podcasts and every place that they are, that somebody finds these things, and that you guys, because everything I've seen so far from the channel is positive. And I think that we just need more of that. So I commend you guys for starting a channel together. And I think it's awesome because I've spoken about this with other people, and not many people would do this because you guys are going to end up with a subscriber count, and you're going to end up with revenue, and you're going to end up with whatever. And you guys are going to have to work that out.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to stay positive while you do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you'll disagree about some stuff, but you guys chose to go ahead and do that together, you know. And I'd love to do that. Like I wish that like, I honestly wish that like I knew you guys were doing this, and I probably would have did it with you. Like, I love that kind of interaction, you know. Like it's such a refreshing thing to see in a community, whether it's streaming or just the United States or the world. Generally so damn negative now.
Yeah.
And you know, so I thank you guys for doing this, and I wish you guys the most success possible going forward. And you know, anything I can ever do to help you guys, let me know. I'd be more than happy to do so. You know, I'd love to have you guys come on my show one day, you know, as well, and chop it up just about anything. And, you know, maybe take live questions. That would be kind of cool. You know, whatever the case is, and you guys, if you ever do, you guys can feel more than free to take my show and put it on your podcast. I don't care. You know, like, I just think it's very refreshing. You know, I'm always looking at the community. I definitely commend you guys. So thank you for having me on and being a part of what you guys are doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Beyond the Streams is really exactly what it is. Beyond streaming, we're all people. We all have our own experiences. We all have our own, you know, things that we go through in our life that we can share. And no matter if people find us outside of the streaming community or within the streaming community, everything can be relatable. No matter what, we're people at the end of the day.
We showed that today. Like, we went across so many subjects, and we could almost always tie it, even politics, we could tie back to streaming or YouTube or how. It's all because of how people act and how they behave. You know, it's human nature and behavior and adapting to make yourself better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with all that being said, I hope we didn't offend anybody. I hope we didn't. I know there's so many there's so many things that we did discuss, and we tried not to. We're not here to be politically correct on anything. Everybody here has their own opinions on stuff, and everybody out there listening has their own opinions on stuff, and that's okay if we can't agree with two different things. You know, maybe the color is purple, maybe the color is lavender. I don't know. So we don't really care most of the time.
That picture of that dress back in the day. Oh man.
Yeah, back in the day, is it gold or is it blue? But you know, with all that being said, wherever you guys are either listening to us in the different platforms, or if you are on YouTube watching this live, make sure you guys do leave us comments below, because we even if we don't reply back, we do read every single one of them, and we appreciate your guys' feedback. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. And Lee, I'm really I'm very excited that you were able to come and be here, part of the Beyond the Streams. So with all that being said, the couple things that we say here is, you guys out there, take care and take care of each other.
Stay humble and be patient. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Out.